As the region worries about a potential next phase of this war, in Gaza, the unchanging current reality continues to kill and maim 300 days in. These the minutes after an Israeli airstrike on a school in Gaza City. It was crowded with displaced people. Survivors said there was no warning. It was hit by 3 missiles.
We heard the explosion. We came running to help. We found scattered remains. There's no mercy. They do not have mercy on anyone, child or adult. There's no mercy.
All around, bodies and body parts, the injured and the dying. It's up to these people to make the distinction, to help those that can be helped. Triage not by paramedics, but by the newly traumatized. But still, as everyone now knows in Gaza, it can get worse. The ruined school building collapses in on itself and on those who'd gone in to help. The ground floor now a crawl space. A man lies trapped by his ankle. Rescuers work to free him. And at last he escapes on his way to hospital. But the dead are also being brought there. Among them, a boy named Yazan, whose mother was killed earlier in the war. Yazan, answer me, my love, his father says. We were just playing. You missed your mother. I wish you'd take me with you. More than 1,000 miles away in Qatar, a wife mourning a husband. It's this death and its possible consequences that so many in this region are now focused on. Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, was killed along with his bodyguard in an explosion in Tehran in the early hours of Wednesday. The New York Times first to report it as a remotely detonated Israeli bomb placed in Haniyeh's regular accommodation months ago. Israel has not commented on the assassination. Iran has vowed to avenge it. It's a moment seen as even more dangerous than last April, when Iran launched 300 drones and missiles in response to an Israeli strike on a senior Iranian commander.
I expect that Iran is going to want to respond in a similar way this time. And I think the outstanding question isn't necessarily whether they're going to respond. The question is whether they're going to respond in an even more forceful way, and whether Hezbollah is going to get involved as well.
In Beirut today, Hezbollah officials were accepting condolences for one of their most senior figures killed in an Israeli airstrike just hours before Haniyeh. Hezbollah has vowed to answer his death with, quote, an open battle on all fronts. That strike was itself a response to the killing of 12 children in a rocket attack on the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. For months, the threat of uncontrollable escalation has hung over this region. The open question, is this now it?
Well, our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Secunda Kamani, joins us from Tel Aviv. Secunda.
Well, Christian, the Israeli army has said that it's in a state of high alert, awaiting a response by Iran, by Hezbollah, by their regional allies that some believe could be quite imminent. There is not a sense of panic here, though. I was speaking to one former senior intelligence officer. They said that they believe the scale of the attack will be smaller than the huge barrage of missiles fired by Iran earlier this year. And even then, remember, the vast majority of those missiles were intercepted by Israel and its allies. Now, again, America has been signaling its support for Israel, the White House announcing new defensive deployments ahead of this anticipated attack. The British Defense Secretary has also been here in Tel Aviv, meeting with his Israeli counterpart, discussing coordination between the two countries.
But alongside that, some signs of frustration from the Americans as well.
That's right. When President Biden was asked last night whether the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh could ruin the ceasefire negotiations because Haniyeh had been such a key player in those negotiations, Biden replied that it certainly hasn't helped. And a report from the Axios news site goes further, quoting officials saying that President Biden is deeply frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu, believing he's focused more on regional escalation rather than reaching a deal. At the same time, we've heard in the past frustration expressed publicly by American officials, but that has not translated into the kind of pressure exerted on the Israelis that many others around the world want to see exerted.